Hey everyone, we're here doing the latest Lufenia chapter in DFFOO Global, Arc 3, Chapter 4, Part 2. This was VV's LD weapon debut in JP, and in Global they shook it up by adding Aphmau's LD early, moved it up about 2 weeks from when it was on JP's anniversary, I believe. We got it here instead. So this party comp is trying to push Xande as far as he can go. So the way we're doing that is we're bringing Yuna for the HP damage up and Brave damage up, and we're bringing Aphmau along with her new LD weapon. Aphmau pairs really well with Xande. We'll see how well this works into Lufenia Plus. Her LD buff gives her partner. It's almost like the dance partner in JP or in FF14. She gives them an extra 30% HP damage up, and they get a turn every single time she acts, which works really well with Aphmau since she gets a lot of free turns from her EX and her LD, which both grant her her two little puppet friends, which gives her a free turn on her HP plus and Brave plus. So what she'll be doing basically is ramping up Xande, since Xande's biggest issue is it takes him forever to get his meteor stacks up from his EX and also those circus tower buffs from his LD or his S1. This first wave is kind of a joke. I had to do a bit of a reset here on the second wave. These bosses don't really work too great with Xande. Both they work with and against. This first recast isn't really much of anything to worry about. It's no Brave HP attack. All they do is they just put on a debuff that is 1 turn HP sap based off attack. So nothing really too major to deal with here. So I just used Aphmau's LD and I set Xande as the partner here. So you see his turn just immediately slides up. And I'm also just triggering all of the debuff calls. Gabranth and Kurasame, just getting those up because these bosses between Xande's LD rebreaks and Yuna's BT effect and the summon, they won't be getting too many turns. So I don't really need to worry about those coming off. And you'll see here that Xande's already got his first meteor off, which is probably one of the main reasons why we're bringing Aphmau along, just so we can spam that, because that has quite a lot of damage here, which will be really useful once we get down to the 30% threshold and they set up their HP damage shields. And so here you see the recast ability go off, and it doesn't even inflict the debuff on Yuna and Xande because they've already got 6 frame buffs on. The orb is getting a little bit low here, and Xande's S1 actually ticks that up. So the way this orb actually works is that both enemies need to take a combined 150,000 fire damage, and Xande easily is able to do this basically every turn via his S1. You can see that he's already got his meteor up again, which is just insane if you're used to playing Xande. He does not get his EX up this early, this fast. So these orb counts are starting to get a little bit low. I think they both get to 1 each, but they disappear once each boss hits their 79% threshold, and then they come back again once they're at 50%. So you'll see here that Yuna attacks, they're both down to 1 tick here, both at 80%. So Xande just knocks them both down to below 79%, and you'll see that both of their orbs just disappear. They won't be coming back. Yeah, it says it triggers, but nothing actually happens because they're both under the threshold. So I'm gonna do another LD here with Aphmau to Xande. just because the most dangerous part of these bosses' kit, especially for characters who have a really slow building buff, is one of their all attacks, which does a full party cleanse of all buffs, including frame buffs. So I just don't want them to get any turns. I'm really stressed that if they do get a turn, they'll just wipe all my buffs, and then Xande will have to start again with his meteor buff. So I just choose to go into burst here with Yuna. Yuna's burst rotation is pretty straightforward. LD into HP attack plus until the last hit, and then brave attack plus to bring her bravery up, because her burst attack actually scales off of her current brave. So you want to get her brave up as high as possible before you actually use the burst finisher. And then once this burst phase is over, you'll see that the HP damage up on the party is actually like extremely insane. Between Yuna's LD, Yuna's BT, Aphmau's LD, her selfish LD buff, which is a 10% HP damage up to the party, and then on Xande, he gets an additional 20% when he has the dance partner buff up. We've got Gabronth on, we have Kurasame up, and Xande himself has an extra HP damage up by 20% for himself exclusively. And you'll see there that because of how many turns he's getting, when Aphmau's EX recast buff up, I actually had to bypass using his free turn, his free skill use turn, because Meteor was already up. And he gets to go once again because of the dance partner buff. Like, he's getting a lot of utility here out of Aphmau's LD buff. And so I just want to push them here below 50%, just as soon as possible so that they get into their next phase here, which is done easily with Xande's S2. So free launch here, but don't really get much utility out of it. Another free turn because of the turn switch from Aphmau here. Just going to use S1 to tick this orb up for a bit before they put up their HP damage shield. And I keep calling it Dance Partner, but that's not what the buff is actually called. It's called Tactical Switch. But it functions like a dance partner here. I put that up again just because I really don't want to give these bosses any chance here to use their full party wipe. So just another meteor goes off here with Xande, because he's going to get another turn right after. So I'm not worried about pushing them back here. Yeah, and it's just hard to keep track of how many buffs there are going on with all of Aphmau's buffs, especially because they don't have very many turns. And I'm actually going to go into the summon now instead of earlier, just because I want to save those LD uses for when they put up their HP shield. And so I still have Agnes's Call. I didn't really need it. Xande was doing well enough keeping the orb up, but it's just even more HP damage up on this already fully loaded HP damage up comp. And so Yuna's LD there just did like 400,000. Like, it's just insane the amount of HP damage going. So they're both under the 30% threshold here, and as soon as they hit that, they each get an 800,000 HP damage shield, which is pretty ludicrous when you think about it. Like, that's a lot of HP damage that they're just neglecting here. But Xande rips through that pretty fast between Meteor and his LD here. So we're just going to give Xande another turn because of the turn change buff. And I'm pretty sure I LD here. Yeah, just keep them knocked back. You can't even see their turns right now. And I've basically broken through B's shield, so I think I might even blast through it on Aphmau's turn here. Just using the EX because I want to keep that last LD on her. Yeah, so I've already just blasted through B's shield, so now I'm going to focus on A here. Just so that, you know, they're both taking HP damage. Even though with Yuna, all her attacks are just generally AoE. So use Quake here again because it has a double HP dump, which is more effective at breaking the shields compared to his S1. So both the shields are broken. You know, B's turn is 4 or 5 turns away. This fight is basically over at this point, especially with, again, just how much HP damage up we've got. Yuna's BT effect is 6 turns, so I'm not really worried about running out of that. So yeah, I'm going to use that last LD now. Nope, going to get the extra damage out off of Gebron's LD call here. And Gebron's LD call doing 260%, 260k HP damage is almost unheard of. So that's just how much, you know, HP damage up and Brave damage up we've got going right now. So just using LDs as DPS tools now. I probably saved a bit too much here. Once again, a meteor going off, just an insane amount of meteors compared to any other Xande run, basically. Any of my previous runs, I've never seen anything like this. There, and now I'm just going to use my last LD buff with Aphmau. Probably could have used them a lot more sparingly, or liberally, I should say. I had a lot of skill uses here. I guess these bosses don't really have that much HP. And I'm going to just push them back even further with Xande's LD here. So yeah, if you don't let the bosses get a turn, Xande is very good for this fight. He takes the orb with his S1, does a lot of damage. And with Aphmau, they just get a lot of free turns. And stack HP damage up, and even Xande's S2, which is really weak, will be able to do quite a bit. So that was this run. Pretty straightforward. Aphmau and Xande are a really great pair.